Hello everyone. As you can probably tell, I'm not in an NCCP sanctuary this week. I'm recording this message for NCCP Anywhere from Orlando, Florida, the weekend of June 28th. Melissa and I are here with all of our kids, save the two oldest. Now if you're thinking, wait a minute, weren't you in Orlando at this exact same time last year? The answer is yes. In fact, it was this exact same week, the same scenario. We were in Jamaica the week before, last year for our 25th anniversary, this year for our 26th, and we find ourselves right back here doing the same thing as last year. As Solomon might say, there is nothing new under the sun. Well, almost nothing. One thing is different this year. Grammy is not here with us to spoil the grandkids or to help pay for everything. So I'll confess something. For the last several months, I've spent more time than I care to admit worrying about these two back-to-back trips. Running the numbers, looking at the budget, wondering if we could really afford it. Replaying all the what-ifs in my mind. Now, don't misunderstand me. Planning is wise, budgeting is responsible, but somewhere along the way, planning quietly became worrying. And worrying became my way of trying to control a future that I simply couldn't control. Maybe that's why I need to spend one more week with the teacher. Throughout this book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon has been exposing the futility of trying to find ultimate meaning under the sun. He experiments with pleasure, work, wealth, wisdom, achievement, and control, only to discover that none of them can conquer the realities of time, death, or uncertainty. Much of his frustration comes from fearing the wrong things, losing what he has built, not being remembered, the unpredictability of life, and the inevitability of death. Then, in the closing verses, the book pivots. The end of the matter. All has been heard. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this the whole duty of everyone. That's verses 13 and 14 of chapter 12. This isn't a new idea tacked on to the end. It's where Solomon has been leading us all along. Ecclesiastes teaches us that there are two kinds of fear. One will imprison you, the other will free you. Fearing the future leads to anxiety. Fearing death leads to despair. Fearing loss leads to endless striving. But fearing God, a reverent awe and trust in the one who stands above the sun, puts every other fear in its proper place. This creates a beautiful connection to trust. Solomon doesn't conclude that we should stop fearing altogether. He concludes that we should fear the right thing. When we fear God, we no longer have to be ruled by everything else. Now the progression is coming into focus. In week 1, we studied together that there is nothing new under the sun. In week 2, more is never enough. In week 3, we discovered we can't control time. In fact, there was a season for everything that God had ordained. Therefore, stop trying to control. Fear God instead. So it leads from control to contentment to confidence. We begin by trying to control everything. We discover contentment by receiving life as God's gift. We end with confidence. Not because life is predictable or easy, but because God is trustworthy. That confidence doesn't come from mastering life under the sun. Contrarily, that would lead to a life of fear. It comes from trusting the one who reigns above the sun. And I think that's exactly where Solomon wants his readers to arrive. So, one last invitation to fear less of what life throws at you and live more with fearing God, trusting God, loving and loving life. That's where I have arrived at this point in the summer. Yes, I still get a little antsy when one of my kids orders a Coke instead of the free water or wants a dessert. I admit I see dollar signs, ka-ching, but I have learned to let go and trust God. We have worked hard this year, and this is an opportunity to spoil the kids a little bit, with time mainly, and to eat, drink, and be merry with them. The one place I do draw the line, I am not taking them to the movie theaters. First, we pay for too many streaming services at home. Second, just as we predicted in the first sentence of week 1 of this series, the number 1 movie at the box office this week, Toy Story 5. There is nothing new under the sun. May God be with you until we meet again. Thanks for being with us for NCCP Anywhere. I am Pastor John. I look forward to seeing you next week as we celebrate the 250th birthday of our country and look at what it means to be a nation under God. May God be with you all until we meet again. Amen.